Michael's in the room.
Okay, guys, welcome to 5 Weeks to Win, rethinking the new business pitch. Oh my God, Eric, you got the best title ever for a class. Man, and he's a strategy guy. He's not a creative guy. He's a strategy guy, and he came up with a great name. So, guys, I'm very excited. I see new faces. Paola is here. Hi, Paola. Is from Alma, and then we have Monique. Right? Monique is from Panama, so be nice, guys. Okay, so no, so be good. So very excited to have you taking this class. We have Eric and Travis. Where's Travis? I lost Travis somehow.
Probably gotta click a arrow button or something.
Oh, there it is. You're in the center, Travis. That's what it is. And you're the only one who feel like very important because you have that big mic on the side. You and Rod has big mic. So, well, anyway, very excited. Eric, thank you very much for agreeing to this. We met like 3 months ago, and I think as a result of this mess that we're living, right, Eric?
Yeah.
And look, you know, this is the result. We're 16 people connected from all over the world, you know, Miami, New York, Panama, here in Punta Cana, so Santo Domingo. Very excited to have you guys with us, Eric and Travis. I'm pretty sure things are going to get great. We talk about this class as every class that Miami Art School put together. It has the quality of being transforming, and it will transform your life. And as we go along, you'll see that there's transformation also on the way it is given. You know, so and we talk about that with Eric. You guys are going to help Eric to put the class together. Sounds like very, very wishy-washy, you know, coming from an instructor. It's like, I'm going to let the students do the work. But that's the beauty of Miami Art School. It's like, you know, your questions, your participation, everything that you put in, you're going to get back twice. So I'm very excited about this, and I'm going to shut up. Like, you know, my son Willie said, you talk too much at the beginning of each class and you take like 15 minutes of the instructor time. But this is your class, guys. So before I leave, because I'm going to leave, and I'm going to let you guys, you're going to see only like the flamingo hanging around. I want to do what I do on every class, at the beginning of every class. And it's like a group picture, okay? So look at the camera. Are you guys ready? Smile, because you're going to be on Instagram in like 5 minutes. Smile, yes. Beautiful. Okay, guys, so Eric, this is all yours now.
Thank you, JG. You broke my first rule of all my classes. There's no smiling involved. No smiling allowed. Smiling allowed.
Well, if that's the case, I'm leaving. Bye-bye, guys.
Okay. Well, thank you guys. Thanks. First of all, thank you guys for joining. This is going to be fun. We're going to have a lot of fun, and I couldn't have asked for a better intro. I met JG a few weeks ago, or maybe a couple of months now. It's been a long time for quarantine, and we met by accident through Coffee at a Distance. I don't know how many of you have gotten a chance to practice Coffee at a Distance with Natalie Kim. Beautiful platform online. I don't know if it's still running, but it's supposed to help connect people all over the creative industry, whether you're in marketing, advertising, communications, PR, whatever. It's supposed to connect professionals with one another, emerging talent with established talent, whatever that looks like. And he was kind enough to lend me a platform a few times, and I've worked with Miami Art School on 3 separate boot camps and lecture series now, and I'm really excited to be doing this with you guys for the next 5 weeks. I'm so thankful to have Travis with me here as well, who has become a great friend and a mentor when it comes to building all things about community. And we're coming together at the perfect angle for this class, right? So this is all about new business pitching. And we'll talk a little bit about what you guys will learn specifically a little bit further down today. Travis comes from the client side. I'll let him introduce himself once we get kickstarted into the, the presentation part of this today's session, I guess. But he's coming from the client side. He's an in-house consultant, and he works with some of the largest companies in the world across CPG, technology, startups, what have you. And he builds communities for them. Seems like the dream job. He thinks about how to build grassroots, top-down, bottom-up communities for all sorts of organizations. And for what we're going to be briefing you today, the project we'll be working on in the next 5 weeks, you'll see why that's so important. For me, I'm coming from the agency side. I am currently the Vice President of Strategy over at Havas Global, where I work with all of our health and wellness clients. So everything from CPG to pharmaceuticals to, just mindfulness applications and endocannabinoid sciences, you name it. If it's in the realm of health and wellness and beauty, I probably touch it. So first things first, I hope everyone was able to receive JG's email today with 4 questions to kickstart our discussion. So this is going to be the easiest class of the 5 weeks, and it's never going to be this easy, okay? So what I want to do is I want to take a few minutes per person. I want to go around, and I don't know if you guys are in grid view like I am. I can literally see everyone in order. So I'm not going to make anyone go first. I'm just literally going to call out the first person on the screen. It's predetermined by Zoom. Sorry. I asked you guys 4 questions, and I want you guys to think about it. Hopefully you've had a moment to ponder it. I don't know that we have enough time to have everybody answer all 4 questions. Travis and I have prepared our own answers. Rod, I hope you're able to jump in and participate as well. But I'd ask you to choose 2 of the 4 questions, and I'm going to repeat them so that you guys have it in front of you. Choose 2 of the 4 questions and answer them any way you like. You have as much time as you want. I just want to take the time, and Travis and I both want to take our time to get to know you guys first. That's the goal for today. That is a major goal, because this course is supposed to be catered around what you guys want to learn, what you guys want to be doing. We have a client, a fictitious client, of course, that we're going to propose to you, but the way that we work on that client, the way that we're going to be pitching that client is entirely based on what you guys want to be working on, whether it's experience design, communications, marketing, whatever. So without further ado, I actually think Rod, first of all, Rod, thank you so much for helping with this class. You're the first person on the screen, so I'm going to let you kick things off. Here were the 4 questions emailed just for everyone. I'm going to repeat it one more time. Number 1, what is the proudest achievement of your career thus far? And you could literally answer these questions any way you like. Proudest achievement, that's number 1. Number 2, describe your point of view on the creative industry as it stands right now. Where is it headed in the future? And where do you want to take it in its new direction? Right. Number 3, what was the moment you realized that this is what you want to be doing and pursuing? Right. And number 4, what is your dream brand or client or industry to be working in, and why? So those 4 questions. Hopefully everyone got a chance to read them and reflect on them. But Rod, why don't you kick us off? Answer any 2 of those 4 questions.
All right, any 2. Okay, well, I'll introduce myself. Rogelio Rodriguez, I'm better known as Rod. Professionally, let's see, the moment that I realized that what I'm currently doing, or what was the moment you realized you wanted what you're currently pursuing? Let's see. I think I was in Boston. I was in Boston, and I was on vacation, and a salesperson from HubSpot invited me to their annual conference, and I was trying to convince my wife that I had to go to this work conference on vacation. And I was like, how am I supposed to convince her on vacation that I'm going to go to work? Right. And then the salesperson's like, tell her it's free drinks. I'm like, I'll try it, but I don't know if it'll work. And it worked. And I went to the conference, and I fell in love with inbound marketing, and I haven't looked back. I mean, the whole foundation of the business started because of that experience that I had on vacation, going to a business conference. And let's see, describe your point of view on the creative industry and where it's headed, and what part do you want to take in this new direction? I think my point of view on the creative industry, I think it's adapting, it's changing, it's always going through an evolution, primarily driven, I think, now by more data, the data that we're collecting, and being able to understand that data and make decisions for solutions in a way that is backed by that data that we're collecting constantly. And I mean, my entire team is part of it right now. We use technology to the fullest, as much as possible, collecting data and making decisions on anything from design to business changes based on the data that we're collecting. So I think it's a great way to move, and I'm hopeful for the future. And that's it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Rod. Thank you. That's great. I totally agree with the data point. We have a robust data team here at Havas, and actually we were able to get one of our data aggregator startups acquired, literally announced yesterday. So definitely headed in the right direction. And I think we're getting more fine-tuned with messaging. I'm next on the screen, so I'll pick my 2 questions to answer. I'll start with the dream brand / industry and why. I have always wanted to work in automotive. I love cars. I love all things that go fast, mostly on 4 wheels, sometimes on 2. My mom would kill me if she heard that. But I think there's something beautiful about working in automotive and mobility in general. The way that people get from point A to point B, and then spending an extra $50,000 to make that thing look good. I think there's a lot to learn from that. Second question, what was the moment you realized you wanted what you are currently pursuing? So for me, I used to be a photographer before I was in advertising. And my dream client, obviously cars, right? And I spent a whole summer interning at RGA before I joined them as a freelancer. And I remember I would talk to anyone and everyone that would listen to me. And I tried to grab coffee with every single person that works on the Mercedes team. I don't know if you guys are familiar with RGA, but they've got about 1,000 employees working in that office. And I must have talked to about 300 of them across 1 week, because I just wanted to get hold of an account supervisor that would let me speak to their clients. And it took 3 months of my internship. And it's a 4-month-long internship. It took 3 out of 4 months for me to finally land the right meeting. And lo and behold, they got me in front of the Mercedes-Benz client, and I pitched them, and they were willing to give me a chance. And I got to drive cross country across 27 states, 28 national parks, and document all of them in a Mercedes-Benz GLA 2018 model. And that was a moment where I realized, there's a lot bigger opportunities out there than just being an influencer or being a photographer. I could make this into a living. I could just do this day on, day off, right? Making TV spots, social media spots, thinking about it all conceptually. I don't necessarily have to be the guy in the field taking photos. I could be the one architecting the entire campaign. And now here I am 3 years later, doing this every single day, and I love it. And hopefully you guys will love part of what I do just as much as I do after this class. But next up, Nexus, I think that's you. Why don't you give it a shot?
Hey, how you doing? This is Pablo Segarra. Sorry, it says Nexus Latinx. That's the name of my organization. So I'll change it for the class. My name is Pablo Segarra. I'm currently an attorney and live in Punta Cana right now. I would go with, what is your proudest career achievement thus far? Well, it's a bit of a mix of my career in school, really. I'm a retired police officer, and I was going to law school at night while I was working in the daytime as a full-time job. And on my graduation day, my mother actually got to hand me my diploma when I walked across stage in law school. And this was because that she graduated from the same law school also. And the reason that it's such an important achievement to me is because of the fact that only 5% of attorneys in the United States are actually Latino, which I am. I'm Puerto Rican. And just the idea that, like, out of that 5%, 2 members of that are in my family. So it was something that's pretty important to me. And then I would say that the moment that I realized what I'm currently pursuing, I co-founded and I'm the executive director of my organization, Nexus Latinx. And our goal is to really keep Latino diaspora that live in the United States, really keep them connected to their families in their homelands, in the Caribbean and Latin America. And it's a nonprofit organization. And I really realized that this was very important to me when my grandfather actually passed away, because it just really hit home as to how much of our culture from Puerto Rico really just went with him, and who would be able to pick up that baton and keep it moving. So I'll change the name to my name. Sorry about that.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. That's awesome. You've lived so many lives. Jose, I think you're up next. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I've seen you before.
Yeah. I see you we met on the first time that you did something with Miami Ad School. ¿Cómo se llama? The first time that you came to one of these Zoom calls with JG.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
Well,
like 3 months ago, something like that, in the beginning of the quarantine.
All right.
So how's your Spanish? Because I run out of English all the time, so.
You know, next to none. But you know what? You try your best, and hopefully we'll piece it together.
Okay, so the question that I would choose was, what was the moment you realized you wanted what you're currently pursuing? So, you know, when sometimes you know something like intellectually, but you don't really get it. I was like in that moment in January this year. I was like coming out of my worst year ever, I think, pretty much. And I asked GG for a private session of Brand Code You, and he showed me the way. Like, I realized that it was just me putting something in front of me. And yeah, that was the moment, like coming out of that. And luckily then we had COVID-19 that gave me the time like to refocus everything. And I'm here now. And a dream brand that I would choose is Real Madrid, because there's nothing bigger in the world.
Yeah.
Madrid.
Controversial statement, I'm sure.
No.
Dead set on it. I love it. Well, thanks for coming, man. And hopefully this class gives you some of the tools to accelerate your career even further. I know for me, new business was one of the ways that got me interested into advertising. It's quick, it's fast, you feel really glorious if you win. If you lose, you got a lot to learn. So hopefully this is interesting and exciting for you as well as it is for me. CJ, you're up next. Maybe you could also show us a magic trick or two.
If I could unmute the screen. Two of these questions. So I think my first, you know what? I'll pick the point of view on the industry first, just to be the black sheep. So this isn't going to be a very positive comment. But super quickly, I started when I was like 15 years old, which is not normal. So I've seen it all, like all, and I've hated since I was 18. I kind of walked out of the industry and did other things, and then came back in my late teens. And I was surprised that we have the same problems, right? So being the black sheep, right? I don't think I want an active part in it. This is why I want to be more of a consultant and just work directly with businesses, and why pitching new business and really working with business owners or brands or whatever is way more attractive to me than being in the center of the whole creative industry and like holding a lion. So I think that the agency model, which is where I come from, and when I say agency, I mean advertising agency. Digital marketing agency, completely different monster. I think that that agency model doesn't offer much value to the clients because the world shifted way faster than the industry itself. I think it has the same problems as when I was an angry little teenager. I think the industry is inevitably changing into a more sustainable model out of necessity though, and having to step up as like business partners of their clients and not just as a service provider. Things like digital transformation, creating new income streams, product innovation, community nurturing, digital channel monetization, stuff like that is where I think the real creative work is being done. So I think it's an exciting time to be in, even though I'm kind of watching from afar. Okay, that's that. That's the PG-13 version of that. And I guess the moment I realized I wanted to do what I'm currently pursuing is, I think it's been a slow process of finding my own voice as a creative / strategist. I always call myself a hybrid between the two. It's the same type of thinking, but the application is different. And I didn't know the difference. And I was all over the place, and it cost me, I don't know, 20 years to find out. And I found Miami Ad School, by the way, and they kind of, in, I don't know, 3 workshops, completely changed my life and my view on how to be a creative strategist, basically. I think, being honest with myself, brand strategy is where I can add more value and feel more satisfied with my work, and where I can create the type of relationship with my clients that I want, and where we both get to enjoy the journey more, and we branch out into other types of strategy together. So yeah, that's that.
CJ, thanks for sharing. There was so much to unpack in what you just shared with the group here. For those of you guys that are less familiar with the agency model, agency world, the agency model that CJ is referring to as broken is exactly where I work. So that's me. We're the broken ones. It's great. But in all seriousness, I do think, having worked at places like RGA and Deloitte Digital in digital transformation and creative, kind of more of a design shop than a brand agency. Look, guys, this is a really transformational time. I think a lot of businesses are adapting the way they do marketing and advertising, which is why you see places like Squarespace or Spotify, or Nike even develop their own in-house agencies rather than going outside, right? Or you see places like Gray or places like Wunderman Thompson or VML Y&R, or even RGA develop their own consulting practice. And then on the flip side, you see places like Accenture and Deloitte Digital buying up agencies because they realize, we do all the upfront trend reporting and research, but why are we leaving so much money on the table and we're not doing the creative work? There's a lot of truth to what CJ said, and it's all going to be reflected in sort of the skills and workshops that we're going to be developing here in the next 5 weeks. So thank you for sharing that. Michael Watson, you are up next.
Hey guys, Michael Watson here. Can you hear me? Excellent. So Michael Watson, I'm a compliance director at Moody's Analytics. I work in primarily the financial space. So my clients include some of the largest banks, as well as some of the largest tech companies in the world. So I've had a lot of exposure to multinational companies and a variety of different branding and marketing. Regards to questions, I think I'm going to do dream brand and industry. So starting out in high school, I thought that I was going to have a different trajectory. I actually went to an arts high school called LaGuardia High School. So they, kind of specialize in fine arts, dance, music, drama, you name it. And coming out of high school, I thought I was going to pursue art, architecture, you name it. So I was really obsessed with film and photography, similar to you, Eric. So I got to pick your brain. But ever since I was a kid, I was obsessed with the company called 40 Acres and a Mule. And it's a production company by Spike Lee. And two major points of reason why, I gravitated towards, film and, Spike Lee and his brands. One being that it was the only time where I saw somebody who looked like me on film. And not only that, but also in a positive way. And so, coming out of the 80s and 90s, you kind of had kind of bad connotations about, just certain films. They were always action films and it was always violence. So it was just good for a change of pace to see, something positive. Second was that Spike Lee, he owned his own company. He wrote his own films, he directed, and he was from where I was from. And I appreciated that as a creative director, but someone who was innovative and paved the way for a lot of us to come after. The next one, what was the moment you realized that you wanted to, what I'm currently pursuing? So I think that the moment when I realized that I've similar to Pablo Segura, right to my left or right, or wherever he's on the screen for anyone. I'm actually also on the board of Nexus, so whoop whoop. So when I got my MBA, I actually I was in higher education. I was a director at a law school. And, getting an MBA was pretty big for me because, my parents all got their higher ed degrees. And, I kind of dropped out of law school and didn't know where I wanted to fit in. And I was a little older. But, getting my MBA and also understanding that I had the opportunity to basically write my own narrative. I didn't have to per se be in higher education. I didn't have to per se be in a singular box where I, work with FIs. But it really just kind of, gave me the opportunity to enhance my skills, but also give me the drive to think creatively, critically, and strategically. So.
Awesome. That's great. That's awesome. That's awesome, Michael. Thank you for sharing. I love your interest. I think film and TV, work in advertising, we don't get to work in film, but we get to work with film, right? We get to think about all different kinds of creative elements. And storytelling is absolutely a huge component of what we're responsible for. And if you're good at advertising, you're good at telling stories, right? Plain and simple. We just have less time to do it. We have 60, 90 seconds often, right? So hopefully we'll get to touch on that as much as possible here. But speaking of Michael, there's another Mike here. So Mike, with the beautiful painting behind you, would love to hear your responses.
Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Campos. I'm the co-founder and head of strategy at New Lane. My business partner is actually here as well, Brennan Rodriguez. We both met at our previous agency. We saw advertising going in a different direction. So we left and we started our own agency. And that was back in 2017. Where is it going now? I have no fucking idea. Just like everyone, we're trying to figure out whether you're a small agency like us, we're a 5-person agency, or you're an Alma or a VML Y&R. There is literally no telling. The only thing that I see is that brands and marketers are getting more comfortable working with smaller, leaner, and more senior teams, which is really exciting. What was the reason? Well, the moment that I realized that I wanted to pursue advertising, it actually 6 months before I graduated, I landed my first freelance social media client, and the high that I got from that, it hasn't been able to be replicated, right? So as soon as I did it, I'm like, if I can do this, imagine what I could do when I graduate, right? And then after that, I became, all right, now I did this, now what can we do here? Eventually that's turned into us opening our own agency, and we hired our creative director. It's right now we're trying to grow as much as we can, but still the new business part is still my favorite. So yeah, so I answered kind of 2 questions there in one. I think that's good.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing, Michael. It's a Pleasure to have you. And you could tell that you started your own agency with the number of bottles behind you. I did not start an agency, but I have a similar amount. Guilty. But next up, we got Trav. Give it a shot.
Hey everyone, I'm Travis, and super excited to join and lead this class with you all. Can't wait to see all the ideas and concepts we come up with together. But so my two questions, first one I'll do is the dream brand or industry and why. So my dream brand would be a health and wellness community focused product or brand of some sort. Not really sure exactly like where to put it, mainly because it's more of a self-awareness tool. So giving us the ability to have a holistic plan of overall well-being. So everything from mental health, from physical health to spiritual health to emotional health, and kind of looking at this holistically as how we can improve and make each other around us better. So for example, if I know that, Mike is going to be really, really focused on growth, it's like, hey, like make sure you have someone to tell you to take a break, because when you're in the moments and you're trying to build and grow, we often don't take care of ourselves. And especially as, a co-founder and someone that has a team that they need to show up for and be present for, like you got to make sure that you can take care of yourself. And I find that's happening more and more, that a lot of people are really struggling, especially right now. And we'll get into a little bit deeper as we move along this course today. But I think one of the biggest challenges that I see is getting people to be more comfortable with being alone and understanding how to look internally and figure out what's going on in here. Like similar to your story, Jose, like you've figured out how to look internally, and now you're like, okay, I know where I need to go. Right. And 9 times out of 10, it's just taking that time to look. And so if we had an app or a dream brand, it literally would just be something that's like a little, hey, Eric, hey, Mike, hey, George, like this is what you need to do. And it's this only little thing. And so that's my shtick on dream brand and why. And then I'd say the next one I'm looking at my question. So I'd say probably my biggest career achievement so far, kind of like wrapping up the community side of things, is I started a podcast focused on building communities 2 years ago. And it was while I was at Meetup, I didn't really understand it. I was selling community as a platform to Amazon, to Microsoft, to IBM. And I'm asking these companies to pay me thousands of dollars to use this tool. And I'm like, I don't even know what building a community means. So I started to search, started to interview a bunch of people, and that kind of landed me into what I'm doing now as a community strategist, speaker, and also a virtual event host. And kind of ties a lot into kind of where I see a lot of the future of the industry going. And it's similar to your point, Mike, it's going to be a lot leaner, right? Like you're not going to have these giant teams of people working on projects. You're going to have really focused core groups of people that you go to for that very specific execution and that very specific need. At least that's just my 2 cents on it. And so I think one of the biggest things now as they continue to focus, it's like, how do I help other people bring their people together, right? Whether that's internally as a leader of a team, an organization. For a lot of people out there that might work in a company, it's trying to get sales and marketing on the same page so they can focus on the same efforts, instead of marketing getting mad at sales because they're not closing the opportunities they put into the pipeline, and vice versa, marketing telling sales that, all these opportunities you put into the pipeline are crap. And just like really bringing the teams closer together, and then externally figuring out in communities, what do the members want? Are you actually giving it to them? And just finding ways to have meaningful dialogue. So both internally and externally. So I hope that gives you a quick high-level view of who I am, and we'll get more into my story. But I don't want to talk anymore. I want to continue to listen and learn more about what all you are focused on achieving and how we can be helpful. So that's me.
Well, thanks, Trav. And if you guys do want to hear Travis talk more, you can go to the Community Builder podcast. The Community Builder Show. It's a podcast, and you can find it on every platform that offers podcasts. He hosts really interesting people. Most interesting of all, me. No, I'm kidding. But I did do an episode, and I'm very, very thankful for the opportunity. It's a great podcast, truly. And if you guys want to learn more about community strategy, well, obviously we're going to do it together. but his podcast is also a great viable option. Next up, we got Monique. Hi, Monique.
Wait, hi, how are you?
Hello.
Do you
Hello.
listen to me?
We're good. We can hear you.
Okay. So I have to answer 2 questions, no? Yeah?
That's right. Well, you don't have to. You should want to. No, I'm kidding. You can answer however many you want, but two would be great.
Okay, so I'm going to answer what is your proudest career achievement thus far. So I'm industrial engineer and attorney. So I don't know what the hell I'm doing in advertising. no. But no. Well, I get my first job as creative assistant on an agency to get like money to finish my engineer career. Then I fell in love with advertising, and I'm here right now, and I don't know exactly, I'm very newness on this industry actually. But when I switched from my other job to my currently job, I got to deal with a brand that only was showing promotion product to public, and they want a new campaign. I use what have supposed to be the brand value to the public and mix that with a culture tension. And what sounds awesome because this year is like the first time the brand is not going to show like only product, is going to show like the personality of the brand and through people instead of trying like to sell shoes. And that's what's like this achieve for me. Well, my dream brand on or industry and why my dream brand is like Nike. Yeah, because they don't give a shit. I mean, they don't have fear. They create trends. Trends doesn't create Nike, and that's so powerful to me. Then
Wow.
that's it.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Yeah, no, it's you're completely right. Nike's a great brand to look up to. I worked on Adidas for over a year, and I gotta say, I every time someone says Nike, I want to vomit a little bit. It's like having worked on Samsung. Every time someone says Apple, I leave the room. I can't hear it. My blood boils. But I do respect the brand, and I respect your choice. I just hate that you said it. But anyway, thanks for sharing. Rosabelle, you're up next. Can't wait to hear from you.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Rosabelle, and I'm on the agency side. I actually have boutique, very tiny, just like Mike, maybe tinier, marketing agency here in Punta Cana. And my partner's actually on here as well. That's Rosy Peralta. So we're Rosy and Rosa. It's very, very easy. You can talk to either of us. We can answer the same stuff, no matter what. So my questions. All right, so I'm gonna start with the moment I realized you wanted what you're currently pursuing. Actually, I studied marketing. I graduated from marketing. So I've actually been in the marketing industry or working on marketing since I graduated college actually, but I actually entered into experiential marketing, and I was like, this is it. This is, in school I didn't study, I studied marketing, but I didn't know that there was experiential marketing. So that just kept me going. I love it. I love experiential marketing. And I, worked on it. I worked in New York for a long time at an agency. And then we were like, all right, let's leave everything and move to Punta Cana. So then I quit my awesome experiential marketing. And then I was like, okay, what am I going to do? What's going to happen? And you know, I love marketing, so I stuck with it, and I'm like, let me find out, where is market, what's marketing in Punta Cana, what does it mean, who can I talk to, where, and I mean, I did consider, like, should I get into the hotel industry because there's hotels, should I start like doing other things, but marketing, I've always loved it, so I've always pushed to try to find the opportunities. I mean, that's actually how I found Miami Ad School, because I was like, who are the marketing people here in Punta Cana? And I ran into JG, and I sent him an email, and I'm like, hey, can I meet you? Literally, that's what I did. And that's how I found out about Miami Ad School in Punta Cana. And then that's also how I met my current partner, business partner. And I just was like, let me give it a shot. She had like an opening available. I just came on. I just wanted to see what, how they worked, how the marketing industry worked. And then she was like, oh, can you be my partner? Can we run the business together? And I'm like, oh, so I was like, all right, sure. So it's just, and now there's still like a lot of things that we're, obviously with COVID and stuff, a lot of things we're rethinking, a lot of stuff in my life now, changing from the New York lifestyle of pretty much train, work, heading back to the train to get home, to then go back on the train. And then, I mean, that was literally my life. And, but then moving to Punta Cana, it's like, it's a whole shift. I mean, I'm working in marketing, but I'm also doing a lot more things, which is why I love what Travis was saying about the whole, like, mental, spiritual, this holistic view to our lives. And this is what I'm experiencing now. And this is where I'm going. And this is actually where I even want to see how through marketing and through my, running my business, I can actually even go more into that and start looking into, even the businesses, the clients that I'm looking for, like, I want them to also be thinking of holistic. What is their impact? Have social impact, have, like, I'm going in that direction now. So, and I love it. So I'm very happy with it. So, and then the proudest moment in my career achievement, I think it ties in with the same story. I had no idea, like, I didn't know what was going to happen when I moved, when I just left everything and moved. So just taking on the challenge to run an agency when, I mean, I had tons of bosses, I had directors and, the boss, I never thought I could have my own clients and actually be able to, just have my own client and actually be the one to make the decision. I think that's just, to me, that feels, it's a great achievement. Being able to have a client, maintain the client, and just proving to myself that maybe I know more than I think, having just confidence in myself to just keep going and working through things and working through the challenges of making it through COVID, however we can, and keeping, staying relevant and staying, learning, taking all these classes. And just, to me, that's achievement. Just, not giving up and pursuing what you're meant to be doing.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing, Rosabel. And guys, I forgot to mention, listen, I'm here to learn from you guys as well. I think, even from just going through half the list of all y'all, there have been such amazing stories, such interesting stories. You got attorneys, you got entrepreneurs, you got a magician, if not more than one. You got teachers, you got people working in strategy, no strategy background whatsoever, all kinds of backgrounds, right? And you could see just from this list of people here, 14, 15, 16 of us here, we're all in the same class together. But no two people have the same story. It's amazing. But it's the same as advertising, right? In advertising, no two people arrive to the solution of a brief the same way, but you get to an ad eventually, right? And the finished product is hopefully the best thing possible for the client, and that's the best we can hope for. In new business, I always say it's the best part of the agency life, because you get to work with so many different people across, whether it's a small or large organization, and it's a great way to just make up new ideas on the fly. And Rosabel, you brought up a bunch of good points. And I think one thing that's really cool is you actually went to school for this. You know, when I went to school, I didn't know that marketing and advertising was something that I could actually study. I studied violin performance, right? And then I found my way into marketing and advertising by accident. So it's really cool to see someone actually go through with that journey, and to hear that now you want to take those skills and apply it to something like cause marketing or social good. I think that's, you know, the world definitely needs a lot of that. One of the first frameworks I'm going to work with you guys today on is called the Ikigai model. It's basically finding out your own reason to believe. And it's an exercise we do with our brands and clients as well. So you'll definitely find that relevant. But thank you for sharing. Next up, we got George. George, we'd love to hear from you.
Hey guys, George here. Okay, so my name is George. I have a connected design and a design strategy oriented agency here in the DR. I'm gonna pick, let me see, well, first of all, the proudest or biggest achievement of my career. I think that's still going on their way. I think I have not gotten quite there yet, but I would say it would be to build a team that actually values culture above everything else, okay? Because this has actually led us to, even though we're quite small as of now in the DR, we have a team of around 14 people working with us. We're small but mighty, okay? To date, I have I feel proud because we haven't gotten rejected with a project, not once, okay? And we've pitched over 150 projects to date in 2 years. Also, we're one of the fastest growing agencies that there is in the DR right now. And we're going head to head with the biggest firms. We're going head to head with BBDO. We're going head to head with Publicis. We're going head to head with most of the biggest agencies that there are here. And so, I don't know, I would say we would not be able to do that if we didn't have a team that actually loves their work and likes what they're doing, okay? And so I would say being able to lead that team and actually put it together, you know, being able to come up with this such diversified team with people of different backgrounds and expertise and agencies and ages and I don't know, preferences, if you will, okay? Being able to put that together and actually, you know, coming up with such a team that clients will actually, and I don't know how you say this, they would rather have you than have somebody else. Like, for example, I don't like to say this because it's kind of fucked up, okay? But I have some of my clients that actually told me that because of COVID, they had to let everybody else go. Like, they were working with 4 or 5 agencies. And I have a single client, which is one of my biggest clients right now, that came up to me and told me, dude, you need to know this. We're letting everybody else go, and we're staying with you guys. And, you know, I was actually, you know, telling them, like, look, if you need to renegotiate the fee or whatever to make it okay, then they came ahead and they told me, like, no, you don't understand. We're living business as it is, okay? We don't want to touch you guys. You're the only guys that we know are working for sure with us. And being able to see the difference of, you know, other competitors within that same client, I think it's a huge deal for me, okay? So that's thing number one. And I'm sorry to tell you this, Eric, but one of my favorite brands is actually Apple, okay? And I love Apple because I think it embodies the innovation within an industry and actually within very different industries, okay? Being able to actually take an idea from the thinking phase to the implementation in such a beautiful way, I think it's something that you have to admire. And I'm really a fan of Apple, mostly Steve Jobs. You know, I think actually since he passed away, the company has taken kind of a different direction than what he was actually building. And I think it would have gone another way if he was actually alive. But I love this company because they dare to dream big and they actually execute on that dream, okay? And they're not afraid of standards. They're not afraid of competitors. If they think they have a good idea for something, they go for it. And that's exactly what I've been trying to do for me and my team, okay? And so I would say that's pretty much it.
Wow, yeah, George, that's great. And you know what? Props to Apple, one of the most cash flush organizations in the world. In fact, I don't know if you guys know this. If you take AirPods out of the Apple ecosystem, it would be the 32nd largest brand globally. Huge, right? And that's a point of distinction. And to your point, George, about culture and loving culture and having an affinity and a pulse on culture, no one does it quite like Apple. In the way that Apple does. I think one of the reports I've done for Adidas is all about normcore and this new future we're heading into where to best stick out is actually to fit in, and where to find that fine balance of looking like everyone else but having subtle flares of personality. And I think Apple's incredibly good at doing that. So yes, as a former Samsung strategist, I hate to say it, but Apple is a great ecosystem brand. Cool.
Yeah,
Brandon,
it is.
Brandon, you're up. Let's hear it.
All right. Well, hi, everybody. My name is Brandon Rodriguez. The questions that I'm going to go over here is, what was the moment you realized you wanted what you are currently pursuing? So oddly enough, when I had just moved here to Florida, I was 18. I think I started like dabbling in music at the age of towards like just turning 19. And when I was doing that, right, I was writing music. I was like, working with buddies, doing some performances and stuff like that. And I was really trying to think of ways to, push ourselves, like, how to promote ourselves, how to market ourselves, how to, create like little logos, album covers, flyers, our websites. And I used the University of Google to like teach me all these different things and take advantage of that. And funny enough, I didn't realize at that time that that's, what I was doing. I was doing branding. I was doing advertising. I was doing, everything that, a lot of these agencies do. Fast forward, a little bit, I graduated with a bachelor's in music production from Full Sail. I was very into the music scene. I was more on the engineering side at that stage. And then somehow, some way, I ended up falling into an agency where I actually met Mike. And at that agency, I was brought on as the director of operations. I was dealing with clients, managing everything, helping the creative, dealing with social, dealing with production. And that's really where I think I started getting a taste of the actual advertising world. And I obviously fell in love with it. 3 years passed almost, and Mike and I decided to part ways, and that's really when we had the opportunity to go out and start the new agency. So funny enough, I didn't, it wasn't the plan, but I am here, right? And then as far as brands, I think, being that we're on the topic of music, or at least that I am, I was thinking a record label could be something that would be really, really fun to do, just because there are so many different outputs, right? So many different artists that we could hop on, and whether it's like different campaigns or being part of the production or whatever it may be, I feel like there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of fun there.
Thanks for sharing. I love that. And you know what? You got me thinking, one of the things that we always do as an exercise is you take the brand that you're working on and say, well, what if the brand wasn't like this? It was like that, right? So what if a brand were more like a music, like a recording label or a publisher, right? So what happens when you become more of like a content house than just selling products and services? For us in healthcare, right? And I think George brought this up earlier, right? The reason why Apple's so great is it's able to put its tendrils into all these different industries. For us right now in healthcare, Apple's doing so much in the wearable space. Their partnership with Johnson & Johnson is allowing them to actually unlock how to use technology to preempt chronic diseases. It's massive, right? So that's definitely something we'll be talking about in this course, is how to be more agile, how to open gaps and opportunities for your brand to do something truly innovative. And that's going to be at the heart, actually, of our brief that we'll be working through together. So very, very exciting, and glad to have another musician on board. Paola, I think you're up next. Would love to hear from you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Paola. I've been working in strategy for about 8 years. And in the past recent years, I've been focusing a little bit more on the health side of strategy, which has been a big passion point for me. I'm going to pick the question about where the creative industry is heading, because I feel like there's going to be a big intersection. And it's exactly what you were talking about Apple, is the intersection is how are brands going to leverage innovation to really, for a good cause? Like, I think that's the biggest thing that's going to start happening. And although not all brands can focus on a good cause, I think all brands can make a positive impact on communities, which is what consumers are really looking for. I think as we move forward and start looking at Gen Z doesn't really care too much about your brand, but it's like, what is that brand doing for me and my community? So I think that's where the creative is going to start heading. I think really making a difference, a positive impact is going to be a big thing. And I think data has definitely a big way of doing so. So I think that intersection is definitely going to be interesting to see in the creative work in the future, what we're seeing. I mean, I think we saw last year at Cannes, like more than almost 60% of them was that two-layered approach of really leveraging innovation for a good cause. And it was interesting because I think the more that we saw it, the more we started seeing this theme that was happening. And I think now with everything that's happening with COVID-19 and here with Black Lives Matter, like I think there's a big opportunity for brands to have positive impacts. And I think technology might be a good way of doing so. And then when it comes to dream brand or industry, I think for the most part, for me at least, it's been focused on health, wellness as well. Not so much on the pharmaceutical because it doesn't feel as rewarding, I guess, just because of everything that goes on behind the scenes. But I think when it comes to health, like I currently work for a cancer hospital, and I think there is a rewarding on helping the community and reaching out to multicultural people and really trying to help out and educate. There's a big educating factor when it comes to health and wellness, especially when we're talking about minorities. So that has been a way that's where I'm heading pretty much.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, to your point, again, social good is a great place to be headed right now, and especially using the tools of marketing and advertising. I'd be interested to see how the nonprofit and charitable space is going to be disrupted going forward. For those of you who have not seen it, there's an excellent, I think it's all the way back in 2016. There's a TED Talk from Dan Pallotta, Pallota. He gave a TED Talk on why the way we think about nonprofits and charities is dead wrong, right? And it's a TED Talk that really explores why all the brightest talent always goes to things like private equity firms or consulting or big money players and big money industries. Nobody wants to pay for charities. Nobody wants to pay for nonprofits, and definitely nobody wants to see charities spending money on things like marketing. So it's a lot of times that responsibility of doing good in the world falls on brands like Nike, like REI, like Patagonia. And now for big pharma, which is definitely my domain, is a lot of what we think about is, what are the injustices? What are the things that we need to solve systematically because we have so much reach, because we have so many resources? So definitely, Paolo, thank you for sharing. Hopefully we can do some of that work here. And that goes straight into Rosie. We'd love to hear.
Hi, I'm Rosie Peralta. I'm the CEO of Ciruela. I'm the partner of Roosevelt. I have to say my English is not very good looking. She's the one who leads the English meetings in this company. So, regards to the questions, I'm gonna answer the one of what is your proudest career achievement thus far? I think my proudest career achievement is founding a company in the DR. It has been a big challenge, not only because of the obstacles that may exist in this country, but also because I have to learn other areas I didn't have any knowledge on, just to keep my company growing. So that's one of my proudest achievements. So the other question, what was the moment you realized you wanted what you are currently pursuing? Well, I'm an industrial engineer like Monique. So I fell in love in marketing because I was working in marketing. I have 10 years in marketing. So I realized I wanted to found a company, to have a company, because I wanted to work with a diversity of brands and have the fun of create new things, new strategies to those brands. So that was the moment. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And guys, as we go through this exercise, or exercises, I would say, for those of you guys who have a little trouble communicating, or maybe English isn't your first language, it's okay. We'll work through it. We're all in this together. And to be clear, I only learned English about 12 years ago myself. So I'm not a native speaker, so I definitely understand it's tough. But luckily for you guys, strategy, it's universal. It doesn't matter what language you speak, right? Cool. So this is a great introduction, and hopefully we'll get to learn a little bit more about each other. Did I miss anyone on mute or whatever who didn't get to answer the questions or introduce themselves? Anyone else on the screen? I think that covers everyone, right? Okay, cool. So we could dive in, right? Actually, so I don't think anyone's ever complained about being let go early. We might actually break the 2-hour mold today. I don't think it's going to happen again because there's a lot of content coming. But I want to kind of do a little bit of preamble before we dive into the presentation itself. So the way that these classes are going to be structured moving forward is I don't want to have you guys thinking this is Travis and I speaking to you guys. This is really a workshop. This is a sprint. I want us to treat this as sort of, we're a bunch of people that are really, really passionate and smart. We're coming together and we're actually pitching a business. We're going to go through as if we were all one agency and we were actually going to go and create something together. This is not your typical lecture series. It's not something that you just sit there and listen to someone drone on and on. I will not have slides for you like I will today. There will be some frameworks that we review. There will be some exercises, but it's not theory, it's all practice, right? So we're gonna be building skills, tools, and hopefully something that you guys will be proud enough to put into your portfolio coming out of this, and something that if you so choose, you can actually reach out to the clients on LinkedIn and actually say, hey, do you want to look at this? Do you want to actually implement my ideas? That's what I'm really hoping for. So before we go into it, one thing, and Rod would love your help on this. I know there are a lot of people who are business partners already in this group. That's so exciting. That's awesome. One thing I will say is there's a lot of us, right? So I want to break this entire class of however many of you there are. It looks like there's 14, 15 of you guys. I want to break you guys into probably maximum groups of 5. And so that each of you can have sort of your own cohorts and work together on these projects. The way that this is going to work best is if you really utilize these class times every Thursday from 7 to 9 Eastern time as a place to gather, ask questions, show off your work, show off your progress, and kind of workshop through the first 30 to 45 minutes. I'll be showing a lot of workshop exercises. We'll be learning about how to adapt those to your projects, but really this is a place for learning. The place outside of class will be for you guys to kind of do your homework, sort of your research, and come back with all the stuff done, the material, so that we can spend class time actually fine-tuning and guiding you guys towards a finished product. Hopefully that makes sense. Please feel free to ask questions at any time. I believe there's a function for you to just raise your hand. So if anything I ever say doesn't make sense, please stop me right away and let me know. Jose, thanks for the thumbs up. So before I get started, is everyone clear on what's going? Oh, and I should talk about, office hours. I am flexible. Weekends are really, really open for me. I know nobody really wants to give up their weekend, so I understand on weekdays if you want to chat. My schedule is very flexible. You can reach out to me directly. I will be sharing my contact information. Travis, I'm not going to speak for you, but hopefully people can reach you as well throughout the week. But that's office hours are here. I would love to see you guys, whether it's individually, as a group, answer any questions, workshop things together, go through the work. So by the time we regroup on Thursdays, we have a really polished presentation. Whatever that looks like to you, please always feel comfortable reaching out to me. And one note on that before I actually get started, I promise I will get started at some point. I am not disappearing after these 5 weeks. I am still going to be around. So if you want to talk to me about anything personal, whether it's your career advice, career growth, maybe you want to do a pivot, whatever that looks like, I would ask for you to please hold those questions until after these 5 weeks. I promise I will be just as available to chat with you one-on-one, but within these 5 weeks, I really want to make sure that everyone who has questions about this course specifically has FaceTime with me and Travis to really address those concerns. Travis, do you want to add anything there?
No, I mean, I guess the only other thing I can send over like a calendar for me, if anybody wants to like sign up for like a 30-minute slot or something during the week. So that way it's just easy. So we'll link out to that wherever we have like all the notes. And then I guess the only other thing I also forgot to mention, like I also come from an agency background as well. Like I got my first job in New York City at a challenger agency where we worked with brands like, Juicy Juice, Procter and Gamble, Johnson Johnson, like a bunch of different CPG brands. Like I had the start out in an agency, then pivot into startup land and, doing the whole business development side of things. And then also pivoting more to like doing the consulting and strategy stuff. So I figured I'd just throw that in there too. So I'm also a fellow agency person with more of a tech startup sales background, but now with more recent focus on community building. So just so everyone has that context.
What can't he do? Oh my goodness. All right. Well,
no.
All right, let's get started. Feel free to interrupt me if you can't see my screen. We're going to start with this. Okay. Everyone see the keynote? Great. Perfect. Whenever it plays, hold on. Oh my goodness. So we already did an introduction to me. These are some of the brands that I've worked on. I'm going to breeze through this because hopefully you guys saw the introduction video to this course. So a lot of these slides will sound familiar, but either way, I'll be going through it. So I've done new business for a long, long time. I got started in my agency background doing new business. I sold to help start and grow and sell 2 successful startups, one to Capital One and another to Vimeo. So I've been pitching since day one. Since then, I've been pitching as an influencer. I've been pitching on the client side. I've been pitching on the venture side. I've been pitching in consulting. And now I'm pitching in the agency world. It's a lot of fun. There are fundamental tools, skills, tips, and tricks for it. But I will say, unless you are George and you've won the last 100+ project pitches, if you're more like me, where you've lost more than you've won, it's really, 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 really hard, right? Even if you keep winning, it's hard. And how do I know it's hard? Well, guys, let's think about the most important pieces of technology in the world to us today, right? Alexander Graham Bell back in 1876 tried to pitch the use of telephones, and then the greatest communications brand ever, Western Union, came back and said, why would we ever want to adopt this technology? What use could we make of an electrical toy, right? Fail. Then in 1875, Henry Ford tried to pitch the automotive technology known as cars to the United States Congress, and Congress came back and said, no way, this will displace the use of horses, to which I say, well, who's using horses these days to get around? Nobody, right? And finally, Orville and Wilbur Wright, the Wright brothers, in the 1900s discovered flight, right? Transformational. I mean, we use it every single year to get around, whether it's vacation, for work, leisure, whatever, but it took almost half a decade for anyone to be willing to write about it. The point being, selling really is hard. Selling something that's going to transform the world is still hard. Good ideas are hard to sell, and hopefully this course is going to show you how to make it just a little bit easier on yourself, right? And it starts with understanding 3 fundamental things about the creative industry today. It used to be that branding's everything, right? So if you think about some of your favorite brands, right? Like a Nike, for example, we all know those brands because they have an iconic logo, or maybe we've had a positive experience, or maybe like your favorite snack brand like Cheetos, or Progressive as Flow, or cereal brands. They have a famous logo or a famous caricature, and maybe that's how you remember it, right? But today there are too many distractions. Someone mentioned that Gen Zers don't really care about brands. I tend to agree, right? There's just too many distractions, too many platforms, too many things to take care of, especially during COVID. Everyone's mired with their own stresses that nobody really wants to pay attention to some corporate hack telling you why you should buy their products. It seems that everything is an opportunity for branding. So the big problem and the big opportunity is, how do we harness the power of surprise to cut through the categorical sea of sameness? And when I say sea of sameness, I'm asking you to think about all sorts of industries, right? Think about the space that Procter & Gamble is playing in, right? You walk into your bathroom, you walk into your kitchen, every single product seems the same, right? We know Kleenex, we know Clorox, but what really makes them different from their competitors? One brand that does this really well, using the power of surprise to cut through the sea of sameness, is Wendy's, right? Please tell me what the difference between Wendy's, Arby's, McDonald's, Burger King, KFC. What is the difference between these brands? Minimum to none. And they knew that. And Wendy's was able to cut through the noise with their savage, mean tweets done by VML, now YNR, VML, YNR, right? Great example of a brand adopting humor, adopting wit, and a little bit of, again, savagery to actually stand out in a very, very crowded marketplace. Second problem, brands want you to believe that they are pursuing purpose over paycheck, right? And many of you brought this up even before I got to, right? Every brand is trying to figure out what is our purpose in the world? How do we exist and why should we exist and what good are we doing? Well, on the agency side or as strategists or as brand stewards, which includes all of us, our job is to interpret and actualize that vision. In other words, how do we translate purpose into performance and actually walk the walk and not just talk the talk, right? And the opportunity here is, what does it take to make our brand beloved and celebrated in the spaces we exist in? And you know, for me, again, hate to say it, but Nike does this really, really well. Nike does it in a way that's authentic, stays on brand. When they say, if you have a body, you're an athlete, they really live that, right? Women in the Middle East, because of cultural restrictions, who cannot work out in more comfortable gear like short sleeve shirts, they're given the Nike hijab, which allows you to actually experience the same dry fit technology that everyone else does in a way that fits your culture and your surroundings, right? When Serena Williams was told by the chief of the French Open that you can no longer wear your catsuit because it breaks with tradition, Nike came out and stood in her defense and said, you can take the superhero out of her costume, but you can never take away her superpowers. This is a brand that truly, truly cares and will never back down from their actual purpose in this world. Number 3, according to Bain & Co., a huge multinational consulting firm, 80% of brands believe they deliver a superior customer experience, but in reality, only 8% of customers agree. Where is that disconnect? Well, to us, to achieve brand longevity and really gain a clear competitive advantage, you have to first discover how to become irreplaceable. That's the point in discovering truly great customer experience, which is only one of many, many touch points of creating a successful brand. One of the best brands that does this is, of course, Walmart. The way that they're able to incorporate all different industries in one retail footprint is fascinating. Whether it's defeating Amazon on their 2-hour delivery by instating 1-hour delivery, or creating vision centers, optometry, grocery, clinics, having robotics take care of their employees, acquiring fashion brands like Bonobos or Shoes.com, they are able to sustain their competitive advantage by creating a commercial ecosystem that fits every single need of their core consumer. At the end of the day, we aren't allowed to do anything creative until we truly understand the customer and their needs and their pain points. And that's something we're going to go through in these 5 weeks is, how do you unlock a customer insight and how will that drive everything that you do? Ultimately, if you know the brand's customer better than the brand stewards themselves, that's how you win a new business pitch. So 5 ways that we can frame what it looks like to be a successful brand. And again, this should be familiar, but just in case, verbing, one of my favorite ways of measuring how culturally ubiquitous a brand has become, right? Things like Netflix and Chill, or Just Venmo Me, or Google It. These are brands that have transcended what they only offer or do or stand for, and have actually become synonymous with the action that they enable. It's pretty impressive to become a brand that is also a verb. Systems. We've already talked about what makes brands great in terms of commercial ecosystems, but when you think about it, Procter & Gamble owns 90% of the products in your kitchen or your bathroom, right? And that's because they've created a product for every single possible touch point in your daily life. We've already talked about Walmart and Nike, of course, from their retail footprint to their digital experiences, to their wearable technologies. Nike does a great job of making sure that everything they sell is built in a seamless and connected way. Number 3, streamline. So brands that are able to make very, very complex products or complex processes and streamline them into a more simple fashion, right? So Apple obviously taking all of your digital and technological needs and streamlining it into one product offering. The Skim, if you're not familiar, takes all of the news in the world and they know which ones are going to be most interesting to you, and they streamline it into one email. And then of course Chase, everything from financial health to knowing how to save, to opening up a checking account, to looking at your credit score. It's all done within one app, all done within one banking institution. Redefine. We always talk about disrupting and champions and taking down large corporations with nimble DTC brands. Another way of looking at that is, what are the brands that have redefined established categories, right? Uber is absolutely disrupting and destroying traditional automotive companies. And that's because they figured out a way to cut out a really expensive product by offering you a cheaper last mile delivery service. And same with Airbnb, right? The way that they've come into the market and they said, it's not enough to offer just a place to stay at night. We want you to feel like you're really immersed in the environment and offer you experiences and a host and a local native that's really going to give you the best time possible. And lastly, conscious. This is something we talked about over and over already tonight, but what are the brands in the world that are actually able to translate purpose into performance? REI donating their entire tax break back to the national parks. Allbirds creating sneakers that are built of completely renewable resources, and Axios slowing down the news cycle and saying, we're not just going to focus on the hot topic news, but also we're going to talk about the things that really need time to digest and develop further. Right? So these are just 5 brand archetypes that we found to be incredibly valuable to think about, what does success look like? And with that understanding, we can start to think about, well, how do we want our clients to operate in order to achieve a similar level of success, whatever that looks like to them. Any questions so far? Okay, cool. Cool. So throughout this course, really what we're going to do is we're going to have a few processes in place, right? So there are 3 major phases of what we're doing. And today it's really just, again, today was my purpose was to really just get to know you guys, get to know a little bit more about what you want to learn, where you want to head, the industries you're interested in, et cetera. But moving forward next week, we're really going to come back and have a better understanding of how to do research. Everything we do as strategists, as creatives, as marketers comes back to research. Right. And I always say, if you wanted to be an academic or be in academia, but actually get paid fairly to do so, the best way to do it is to actually go become a strategist. We get paid to do research, but it doesn't have to just be the strategist that does this. The best creatives I've worked with over the course of my career have done the research themselves, and they come to the table already having a pulse, whether it's on culture or the category or the company itself, right? There's not just enough to do research. I think anyone can do research. We've been doing research since grade school. It's actually taking that and translating it into and identifying gaps and opportunities for our clients. Where can they improve? Where are they completely missing the mark? Is it developing new products? Is it developing new surfaces? Is it maybe just creating more content or smarter content? And that leads us into the 3rd phase of what we'll be doing in these next 5 weeks, is really ideating ways that we can help our collective client do better, however that looks. And often, you know, we can't shift the sky, so to speak, right? If we have a client, we can't tell them to do everything all at once. So what's the best way to roll out incrementally the products or services or communications that's really going to help them gain an edge, not just for tomorrow, for the next 10 years or 20 years, and set really a brand foundation that will fuel their continued success. So what are we going to develop? Well, again, you know, through the ideation phase, we're not just thinking about branding. We're not even just thinking about positioning or communications, right? And I think too many agencies today focus too much on, let's just focus on a TV spot, or let's just focus on the Super Bowl, or let's just make some social ads, or let's just pick some influencers. That's not my MO, right? I'm here to tell you guys, you got to think about it all, because your clients are thinking about all of it, right? When they go to bed, what wakes them up in the middle of the night is, oh crap, I mean, I might be managing digital, but are my brand ambassadors doing enough? Or I may be head of sales, but I really need to know from a PR perspective, is what I'm doing going to reflect positively or negatively on my brand, right? These are the things that your clients are thinking about, and so we will too. So we're going to be thinking about the products that you already offer from a client perspective, and what are the products you need to build? What are the services that you may or may not be offering, and what are the services that will help you sell your products better? And then what's the content that you can put out into the world to help educate or build some sort of consideration from your user base? You guys are going to walk away then, having done that research, identification, and ideation phases with more experience in brand planning, experience strategy, and experience design. And then, of course, again, content planning and communication strategy as well. And so that's really just me setting expectations for you guys. Again, you might go through this entirely differently from the other groups. And I would say, as we break you guys into teams, I want you guys to really think about, do you have a special interest in brand strategy, or do you care a lot more about experience design and experience architecture? I don't care which angle you take in this 5-week sprint. I just want to know that what you guys are doing is rooted in human truth, rooted in culture, and rooted in a true business acumen. So with that said, let's begin. Travis and I have spent the last 3 to 5 weeks really thinking about what is the best way to structure this course. And literally, and I'm not kidding you, we unlocked finally the perfect project for you guys. I think, Trav, I think it was literally yesterday we were talking, we were like, oh my goodness, this is the best opportunity. Today, we're really, really, really excited to show you our creative proposal and the creative proposal we're going to craft together, which is what I think, personally, I'm not going to put words into Trav's mouth, but I think this is the latest and largest business opportunity since COVID-19 happened. I really do. I think it's super relevant for me. I know Trav's excited about it because he's always been talking about health, wellness, and mental health as well. So Trav, I'm going to let you take it from here, but I can't express how excited I am to show you guys what we'll be working on soon.
Yeah. So thanks so much, Eric. And so I think this isn't a surprising slide to people, but I think it definitely is when you kind of look at the overall cost of what it's having on the annual economy. And, people are stressed and lonely, right? So 42 million Americans a year suffer from anxiety disorder. Anxiety costs, the U.S. $42 billion a year, and 1 in 3 people live alone in larger cities in the United States, right? So being someone that lives in New York, I know firsthand what it's like being around multiple people that live alone, and I can see the effects that it's having that not many people are discussing. And could you go to the next slide for me, Eric? And so one of the things that I'm trying to think about is how do we solve this problem, right? So this is an idea. It's a thought, right? It's something that was arrived at after, a lot of time thinking, like, what can we do to really solve this problem, right? And it's, a home fitness and interactive media platform. So it's able to help, reduce anxiety around 20% with meditation and exercise. And also people are 20 times more likely to quit the gym due to commutes, right? Like, nobody can go to the gym. We can't really work out. Our normal routines are all up in the air, right? So for anybody that's used to that gym routine, like even for me, like I was used to going to my gym that's in my building, right? I could go work out, and that's a place where I found solace and, got a lot of my attention out, but I haven't been able to do that because we've been on lockdown, right? So the solution is building home fitness through interactive media. And just to kind of give you a little bit more deeper insights into the overall opportunity, could you go to the next slide for me, Eric? Right? So why right now? So wellness is on the rise, and the technology for it is actually finally starting to get there. Right. So wellness has been going through industry growth from 2015 to 2017 at around 12.8%. And a couple of things that overlap, which I'm sure everybody here can relate to, is the increased use of virtual assistants in artificial intelligence, right? So you've got things like Alexa, you've got things like Google Home, you've got new things like Samsung Bixby, right? Like there's all these new technologies. Nike's getting into wearables. Lululemon also getting into the acquisition, which we'll touch on in a little bit. But a lot of these companies are starting to figure out that technology is the way, and how do we actually start to measure everything that people are doing on a day-to-day basis, right? And Eric, I think you also touched on some of the things that are going to happen, right? Like companies like Apple are really going to start to take advantage of oh, well, we have a watch, we also have a phone, we have a laptop, and we also have a tablet. We have 4 different ways to collect information about people and use that, hopefully, in a good way, right? And just to give everybody some insights into, you know, the opportunity that we're talking about, right? So the home fitness meditation industry, $18 billion, healthcare, gamification specifically over $40 billion, and then influencer and licensed sports merchandise over $54 billion, right, in market size. So just taking a look at these 3 industries, right, just think about, you know, the $100,000 pieces, right, the $1 million pieces that us as innovators and people that are bringing the ideas together, wanting to solve the problems for the future, have the ability to capture and seize if we can kind of just think deeply and critically about this problem. So I think there might be one more slide. Yep. Drum roll, please. I don't know if you want to drum roll over there.
This is a big reveal, and I think Trav accidentally dropped in what we're going to be doing here, but this is the brand that we're hoping. And guys, if this doesn't look familiar to you, I'm going to be very disappointed. But
wait, don't even tell them what it is. This, can everybody? I'm gonna do a real quick switch. If everybody go to the chat real quick and put a 1 if you think you know what it is, and a 2 if you have no idea what this company is. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1.
Oh my goodness.
1. Okay, so this isn't news to anybody. Everybody knows what this is.
Lululemon, $500 million acquisition of Mirror. This is going to be huge, guys. And let me tell you, I know 100% sure, I am 100,000% sure right now, Lululemon is on the lookout for a new agency to help them develop the go-to-market strategy, the communication strategy, the experience strategy for this acquisition. $500 million they've just injected into this one tiny brand, not so tiny brand. How are we, if we were all in an agency together, how would we go after them right now, right? That's what we'll be working on for the next 5 weeks. Jobs to be done. There is so much ground to cover here, guys, but I am a very literal, practical person, so I don't really like it when people tell me, well, that's a brand, good luck, go. So here's how I thought about how we can categorize the ways that we can approach this business opportunity, right? So there's obviously brand strategy and creative positioning. You know, every time a big tech company or a bigger company acquires a smaller one, they try to rebrand it, right? They either try to strip it of its original brand or give it new life by giving it a new name. Just think about the way that Facebook is now naming Instagram, right? It's Instagram by Facebook. It's not WeChat. What was it? WhatsApp by Facebook. It's this whole everything that they own by Facebook, right? So what does it look like for Lululemon and Mirror? What is the brand strategy? How are they going to position this acquisition? From a product development and experience design standpoint, what are they going to do? Right? They've just spent so much money on a new product. How are they going to fine tune it? How are they going to make it better? How are they going to give their existing user base a more refined product, right? And then from a comms planning and content production standpoint, how would you go about distributing this on social, on digital, on TV, on radio, on podcasts, right? What is the content that we're releasing and launching out there into the world to get people really amped up about buying Mirror that wasn't already considering it before, right? And that obviously ties into the go-to-market strategy and retail innovation, which is personally for me the most interesting part, which is, you know, Mirror is obviously direct-to-consumer brand, right? They're digitally native. They were always plugged into e-commerce, but Lululemon does everything, right? They have e-commerce, but they also have direct-to-consumer, and they also have their retail footprint, and they also have their wholesale partners. I'm pretty sure you can buy it on Amazon as well as other third-party affiliates, right? So what is the go-to-market plan with this? If you are running retail at Lululemon North America right now, how are you going to use their incredible retail footprint across Canada, across America, across South America? How are you going to use all that store space when COVID-19 blows over? To actually market this new product? Is it going to be experiential? As someone was really passionate about experiential marketing, right? This is going to be huge. Obviously, Lululemon's already plugged in. Every time you walk into a store, about 1 in every 5 Lululemon stores actually have meditation and yoga studios built in. They have instructors that come in and they lead classes. All right, what does it mean to now have Mirror there? And then, of course, you know, this isn't typically its own category, but social strategy, ambassador curation. Obviously, Lululemon's already plugged into influencers. They have their big name athletes. They have everything from yoga to training to basketball to cycling, whatever. But with Mirror, now they're really getting into at-home fitness. So obviously, a lot of their communications and their brand strategy is going to rely on key grassroots organizations and organizing. So what is that going to look like? And then, of course, you know, Trav and I are smart, but not the smartest in the world, right? And there's stuff that you guys will come up with that we don't even know. So if there's a job to be done that we haven't identified here, we would love to hear from you guys. We would love to hear from you. And we would love to see it from you, right? Don't just tell us, actually go forth and do it. These are the 5+ ways of approaching the new business pitch for Lululemon and Mirror, whether you want to go ahead and try and name it, or you want to go ahead and come up with a new campaign that's launching this new partnership, or maybe you want to think about retail innovation. We don't care. If there's a great business opportunity, we want you to develop a pitch, a whole pitch deck for this. So how are we going to start doing that? I'm not going to launch you guys in blind. So before we get started into frameworks and ways of thinking about getting started on a new business pitch, if you aren't already a well-oiled sales machine, here's how I start, right? And I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to email you after this class one competitive audit and one industry audit that I've done for Adidas, which is the closest client to Lululemon that I've ever worked on. And hopefully those 2 decks, they're easy reads. I hope they're interesting. I hope they're fun, but they'll give you a little flavor of how I've gone about doing research and syndicating research into actual thoughts and processes that are able to be presented to a client. But for right now, I'm just going to show you some quick thought starters so that we can kick off your research process. And by next Thursday, hopefully you guys have the start of some kind of deck that shows me you've done the homework on Lululemon and Mirror coming together. So the very first framework we're going to look at is called Ikigai. And this is something I mentioned earlier. Ikigai is a Japanese term for reason to believe, right? And this is typically used for self-reflection, but is absolutely applicable to brands as well, right? So Ikigai covers 4 major areas. What do you love? What does the world need? And then more specifically, what does the world need from you? What are you good at, right? So as a brand, what are you excellent at? What are you known for? And then of course, what can you be paid for? What are people willing to pay you for, right? So if we were to just look at Lululemon, for example, right? Lululemon is fantastic at creating apparel. They are phenomenal as a brand for creating premium sportswear that you are proud to wear into your daily life, right? And that's the whole reason why athleisure is big, is because Lululemon has really made leggings and yoga and all these different kinds of lighter, non-traditional sports really like a sexy category to embody, right? And people are willing to pay for that. People are willing to pay $200 for a pair of leggings because it is better, but it also makes you feel better for having worn them. And the world right now needs brands to help them figure out how to be mentally sane, how to be mentally healthy, and also continue their physical health and education, right? And between all of this and Lululemon's love for making you feel like a holistic athlete, not just the hard-hitting athlete like Nike does, that's their reason to believe. Now, we want you to take that kind of thinking and apply it to not just Lululemon, but also Mirror, and somewhere in between, what does this Ikigai model look like for the 2 brands coming together? There's no right or wrong answer. I haven't figured this out. Trav hasn't. Well, maybe Trav has, but I don't know it. But I haven't figured this out yet. So we're really looking forward to your answers. We're going to work through it together. Whatever you have on paper by next week, I want to say there are no dumb questions. There are no dumb suggestions. Anything can spark the next big idea. So don't be afraid to just fill this out however you want, right? The next model I want you guys to think about this is from a functional perspective, right? What does this acquisition mean for Lululemon, for Mirror, and for the world, right? What does this acquisition actually do? How does it change the category? And then at a personal level, at an individual customer level, what does this acquisition mean for current pre-existing or non-existent users of Lululemon or Mirror? What does this acquisition actually mean? And then for the community within health and wellness and the broader non-existing community yet, what does this acquisition mean for them? right? And as we dive into this framework, really the way to unpack that is obviously the first step for every strategist. It's the 4 C's, right? Category, culture, customer, and client. And there is a surprising twist of this, and I'm going to share it at the end. So first, obviously, when you're filling out your research, these are the 4 frames that I want to really see fleshed out by next time, right? So 1, what does the category look like? What does the industry look like? What does the competition look like, right? Lululemon's going up against Nike, right? Nike recently had a collaboration with Headspace. So obviously Nike's paying attention to mental health and awareness, right? We know that Adidas is doing a lot in sustainable clothing and sustainable training in sportswear. So is this something that Lululemon needs to do? And how can this acquisition with Mirror start to unpack that, right? And then from a cultural perspective, especially with COVID-19 in mind, what is going on in the fitness space that makes this acquisition something that we can go after and present opportunities about? For the customer, I want to see everything from insights into what the customer needs and expectations and pain points are, but also, you know, does this look like a patient, not a patient profile, a user profile, right? Is there a way for you to create a lookalike audience of what the key customer for this Mirror / Lululemon service, what do they look like? What do they like? What do they expect from companies? What is the role of a company? What is the role of brand in their world? I want to know all about it. And then lastly, of course, the client, right? Lululemon and the Mirror team is going to be who you're pitching to. So tell me everything about what they're expecting. Tell me about all their creative work. What have they done in the last 3 years that informs not only the advertising approach, the marketing approach, the sales approach, but also the technology and the product and experience design approach, right? And one thing I want you guys to keep in mind, and I don't know if you guys want to do it for this exercise or this sprint, but something that I do in my agency world is when I approach a client, I'm not just thinking about the business. I'm also thinking about the individuals that I'm pitching to. And that's one of the first things we do on the new business team is we identify all the key stakeholders, the VP of marketing, VP of product, VP of experience, VP of retail, VP of sales, VP of finance, right? All these executive level people that work on brand side. I want to know where you've worked previously. I want to know why you're asking for an agency to pitch your business, right? Are you looking for a promotion? Are you looking for an increase in salary? Are you looking to drive more sales so you can take home a bigger check at the end of the month, right? Knowing those things that keep your clients up at night will help inform which ideas you propose. I'm not saying that I expect this from you guys, but it's something to think about as you go forward. And for those of you who own your own agency or would like to someday own your own agency, or even if you just want to go surf on LinkedIn and propose wild ideas to people, you know, you really have to start thinking about what I call the brief behind the brief. Any questions on that? I know that was a heavy slide. Okay, great. Next up, SWOT analysis. And guys, I'm showing you a lot of frameworks. I'm not expecting to see all of them next time, right? And even if you just want to pick one and do it really, really well, I'd rather see one type of research done extraordinarily well than 5 different frameworks done just okay, right? This is really supposed to help guide the way you think about compiling your research, and not so much me saying you have to do this, right? The most important thing about frameworks is that they help guide your thinking. It's not just rote memorization and no 2 pitches are alike, right? So just because you did 4 C's for one pitch does not mean you're going to do it for the next. You might find that SWOT is going to be better, right? And this is going to be your typical business school strengths, opportunities, weaknesses, and threats. Filling this 4x4 out between Lululemon and Mirror, that's going to help inform the kinds of ideas you start to propose. So again, in our next class, I will have already shared 2 Global Adidas presentations that I've done in the past, but I'm also going to kick off the next class. I never want to tell you guys to go do something I haven't done myself, right? So I'm going to actually show you a new business pitch that I've led on the Adidas pitch team and won. And the competitive audit, I'm not going to show you because that's going to be a lot of slides, but I'll actually send it through the email so you can read it. And that way, hopefully we can start to develop this rapport around what's a success look like, what works, what doesn't, what can we beg, borrow, and steal for this work stream. Just so you have a taste of what we'll go over next time, we'll go over brand positioning workshops like the get to buy model, right? So getting a target audience and consumer problem, really identify that, and then identify the desired mental and behavioral response, and then really understanding the role of brand and the key message or action the brand needs to take. And we'll also start to talk about the Kano model, which for those of you who want to work more in product development or startup land, or really thinking about features and functions that you can build in service design, this is going to be a framework that's immensely helpful. But that's all for next time. In the meantime, I would say first and foremost, pick your groups, no more than 5 people per group. Understanding that there are 13 of us, I would say, ideally, and Rod, hopefully you're able to help with this. If we can have, let's say, 2 or 3 groups out of this entire cohort, that would be absolutely amazing. And then once you identified those groups, please schedule office hours with myself and Travis. We would love to walk you through and talk through all the different frameworks and research methodologies and really help you guys understand what the expectations are and where to kick off this project. But again, we're so excited for this, and we're excited where you're headed with this. And I will say, going forward, we can't make any promises because this is other people's time, but we'll try to bring in industry professionals in and around this space, both on client side and agency side, to come in and hopefully review some of your work, give you some advice, have some Q&A time. We're going to make this really interactive. We're going to make this really kind of a collaborative approach, but I'll leave you with this one last quote. Good work is memorable. Great work is unforgettable. For me, great advertising means that people outside of our industry can actually appreciate our work. It means that it's effective. It means that it shifts the needle. It drives sales, and it drives positive brand perception. So that, I'll stop talking and I'll let you guys fill in. Trav, is there anything you want to add? Guys, are there any questions? Anything like that?
No, I was just going to say I'm excited for everyone to kind of sink their teeth and their brains into this problem, because I feel like everyone's going to have a very unique perspective. And I guess if anything above else, in terms of how you all think about solving these problems and you approach the lessons and the homework, lean into your skills, right? Like, this is by no means meant to be a thing where we're like, hey, Michael, can you start to learn how to podcast if you've never podcasted a day in your life? Like, I don't want you to be trying to go out here and do something completely out of left field. We want this to be a place where we kind of all come together as superheroes. We all supercharge our own little superpowers in our own lanes. And then we kind of leave, this moment in time stronger. Right. So I just want to get everyone to if you haven't done any internal searching to realize what you're good at, feel free to let me know. I'd be happy to sit some time aside with you to go through that. And hopefully, we can make this 5 weeks, helping you level up internally, but then also helping you guys with some stuff professionally. And I often find that when I work on myself, I actually unlock other pieces that I can achieve in my business. And so when you can really think about how you're showing up for yourself, and if you even have the right skills or even mindset to approach solving these problems before you just dive straight in. Because again, we just want to be here to be helpful, to be guides, to be facilitators, and to allow you and enable you all, and most importantly, empower you all to think in the most open and future thinking ways as possible. So that's all.
Cool. All right. I'll open it up to you guys. Anything to add? Any questions? Any concerns? Hate the brief.
Eric,
please.
So I didn't want you to leave without your magic trick.
CJ.
All right. So this is going to be interesting. So who asked me about what works on virtual? And I don't remember who did that. What works on virtual?
It was me.
Oh, Travis. Okay. So you're going to play the lead role here. You're going to be the hero. Okay. We're going to imagine it. We're going to use 3 of you, and we're going to imagine the biggest bonfire you've ever imagined, right? Like just in the bowels of hell, just giant bonfire, right? Hear it, feel the warmth, and we'll start with you, Eric. So what we're going to do is we have all the cards we have the number cards, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then we have the picture cards, Jack, Queen, King, right? So what we're going to do is, in your job, Travis, is going to be, you're going to be the hero. You are going to save 1 card from the fire in the end. Okay? That's your job. So, Eric, we have all the number cards and we have all the picture cards. Whatever you say, we're going to throw into the bonfire. We're going to burn whenever you're ready. Oh, by the way, hold on. Let me just record this really quick. All right, let me know.
All right, so I pick a card and I'm throwing it into the fire, yeah?
Yep. You have all the just pick the group, either numbers or pictures.
Let's go with pictures. I'm gonna pick, do I tell you which one I'm picking?
No, just all the pictures. So all the pictures are on fire,
yes.
Burning in fire. And we're gonna use another person. Rosabel, can you help? If you unmute yourself. All the pictures are on fire. I need you to help me out here. You gotta unmute. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
It's burning. All right, so all the pictures are on fire. We have the women, it's picture cards, so we have women and we have men. Which one do you want to just burn, annihilate?
Men.
Oh, you're sick. All right, so men are gone. All we have is the women on fire. Travis, your job is to reach in. We have the queen, and obviously we have club spades, and we have hearts, and we have diamonds. I need you to reach in and save one of those cards, one of those queens. Yeah. What is it, man? We're all in
Queen of Hearts, bruh.
the Queen of Hearts out of all the cards. And Eric, you could have said anything you want. And Rosabella, you could have said anything you want. And Travis, you reached in and saved what card? The Queen of Hearts? Hold on. What's behind me? What is behind me, bro?
Oh my God.
I don't know how he did that. And we have everyone's reaction and he didn't move. So I have no response to that phenomenon.
Wow.
Well, that was that.
A whole class for that.
Anyway,
I'm not gonna
guys,
ask how he did it. I'm just gonna
advertising
like,
is the same as magic.
I need to see the recording of this class so I can see how the hell did he do that.
We'll get it. We're gonna have to analyze it.
Nah, we're gonna need a deeper session to figure that out because I don't know if he'll be able to explain that.
I'll be glad, guys.
Magic for advertising, for sure.
Yeah, it's literally the same thing. That was strategy.
That's awesome. Hey, so I'm gonna create the groups. So we're gonna have 3 groups of 12. Or are the professors gonna be in it? Eric, Travis, or students? How do you want it? Does it matter?
No, I don't. Y'all tell us. Would you guys like us to be in your groups? Like, do you just? I don't know. I guess we were looking at it as to make sure everyone has a cohort of people to go along through this with, and then we could kind of advise as you go along. Or if you want us to be in the groups too, like I don't care, Eric. It's up to y'all
I'll leave
too.
it up to you guys. I mean, for those of you guys who want one of us in your groups, I guess raise your. I don't know where that function is. I've never done it myself. But raise your hand if you guys want us in your groups.
I got it. I'm gonna. Well, no, wait.
So
I'm just gonna.
I already saw 4 people raise their hands. 5.
I just got a request. Actually, you guys are gonna be out.
Oh, okay. So we're not allowed. JG's probably like, no.
We're gonna do it automatically here. I'm gonna create the breakout rooms right now so everybody gets their assignment, and then we'll do it. Let's see if we can do it randomly here on this tool.
Okay.
All right.
So for those of you with business partners, you're shit out of luck. Sorry.
They're gonna break out. All right. Let's see where. Okay. Where's the randomization here? All right. All right. Where?
I love the suspense, bro.
I was just gonna say this is like this is like the point in the sale where you're like, don't say anything. You drop that price on them and let them chill.
All right, click. Let's see.
Also, I know this happened to me before, and it's because it wasn't enabled before this group started. So as long as you enabled the breakout session before we all joined, it should work. If you didn't do that prior, you ain't gonna find it.
I think it's working. Everybody's like going.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should I leave?
No, I think you're just gonna be. You're gonna
Yeah,
be.
it's gonna be taken out. Like
Yeah, you're just gonna get
that's gonna happen.
transported.
Oh wow! And then
Oh wow!
Yeah.
That was actually a very fun. Like watching everybody just get kicked out into their own groups.
I'm going into one now too. Oh,
wow.
I never have seen it happen. Most times people can't get it.
Oh yeah, and now he's gone.
Yeah. So we don't even have any control. We're just going to be sitting in this room until everyone either gets back or who's the host?
I'm not really sure. Who is the host?
I think JG's the host now.
JG's not even here.
Yeah, I don't know where JG is. The Flamingo's here though.
Well, listen, dog, we're gonna kick their ass. It's a team of two. We got this.
I mean, we can be out here. I feel like it would be interesting actually to loop in Albert and like have him kind of run or like come into a class. I don't know what time it is in Taiwan.
It's
but
12 hours, I think.
We're back.
Everyone's
¿Qué
back.
pasó?
they're back.
Everyone else left their room. Okay. But we only
No.
have 4 people in our group. So most people have 4. Yeah, it's like 12.
I think it was 4, 4, and 3.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or if
Yeah.
there's 3 groups, then it's 5, 5, and 4. How many people are there? 13.
There's
I
3
thought.
groups. There's 3 groups.
How many people in total? I think there were 14, 15 people, right?
No, but that's with you two. With
That was including us.
So it's 13.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So then there was 4. So then it's 4 and then 5 maybe.
4, 4, 5.
4, 4, and 5.
We'll
Yeah.
find out. There's this.
And I still ended up with my partner.
Oh wait, well, I don't know if this is a good thing because maybe it could be a vertical focus for y'all. Like maybe this could help craft a strategy to break into healthcare focused brands. Like I don't know.
No, I'm fine. We're good. We're good.
Deep in the team bonding.
Yes.
Make or break your agency. All right, is everyone else coming back?
I don't think. I think everyone like forget them. They didn't come back.
Huh.
I don't think they know how to come back.
Oh my goodness.
I feel like I'm in a game right now.
Yes. That's how I feel.
Oh, but you can tell people in the chat to come back.
Oh, I can't.
Probably. I think you can see it. No. Or maybe everyone
Needs only this chat.
Only
I
this
don't
chat. Oh, that.
I don't know.
I'm sorry, but this is just too funny right now. I'm typing into the ether. Can y'all come back?
Oh, there we are.
Oh, there you go.
Right.
It worked. Oh man, I'm sorry. This
Oh,
literally
you
felt
did-
like a game.
I'm also married to one of the students. So.
All the types of deep in the relationship here.
No, not to the one in the group, but I just went over to tell him to come back to the meeting.
Wait a minute, I got kicked out of the room and then I got put into another group and then I got kicked back.
Oh.
This is like
Watching that
magic.
happen.
That
Where's
was the magic
CJ?
trick.
Is this like speed dating or something? Is that what we're doing?
Something like that.
Speed dating where there's a clear winner, and it's going to be Trav and I. You're all losing. We're We're the judges, so we win automatically.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Rod, if you wouldn't mind, because that was trippy, I gotta say, I work in tech and I did not understand what just happened.
You have to tell us.
Run us down the list. I just want to know, just verbally, who's working with who. And
Yeah, I took hold on. Well, give me a second. I gotta pull up the screenshots over here. I took a screenshot just in case. All right. Breakout room number 2. We got George Reyes, Mike, Monique, and myself. Breakout room number 1, Brandon, CJ, Michael Watson, and Paulo.
Paulo, yeah.
Yep. And then breakout room number 3, Jose, Paola, Rosabelle, and Rosie.
Awesome. Great. Awesome. Is everyone clear on what the next step is?
No.
No.
Brainstorm? Research?
I think it's research.
No.
The forces are the SWAT.
Research, but
All right. So I heard 3 people say research, which great. You're at plus 5 points. You guys can keep track. No, so yes, that was a whole lot. So the next step for you guys, now that you know your teams, the first step is to reach out to them. And hopefully there's an easy way to do that. And Rod, if you could help facilitate those groups so that everyone knows who they're reaching out to. I would love for you guys to take some time, and I don't care how you do this. You could do it could be over text, it could be over email, it could be over a video chat or carrier pigeon, whatever. Talk to your team members, get to know them, get those introductions down, and start the research. By the next time, the only expectation I have is to see some kind of understanding of what this merger between Mirror and Lululemon looks like, what the business opportunities are, and start to think about. And again, I will be sending you resources to look at. And I'm not looking for a carbon copy. I'm not saying that you have to take the deck that I send out and then fill in the blanks for Lululemon. I'm saying this is what I've done in the past. If you have a better way or a different way of approaching how to show me you've done the homework, the beginning of a strategic approach to what it means that Lululemon has acquired Mirror, that will be the critical success factor there. For us in the agency world, typically this next step, so by next Thursday, we'll usually see some kind of deck that you put together, right? And from there, we'll keep refining that deck over and over. If you guys aren't comfortable quite yet with creating a presentation, and again, this could be Keynote, this could be PowerPoint, Google Slides, I don't care how you do it. If you're not comfortable with creating a deck for next time, any way that you're comfortable doing it, I'm okay with, but just know that the final product that we'll walk away with after week 5 is going to be in the form of a deck. So the sooner that you get something on paper, the better it is for you. Does that help clear up the expectation? Okay. A lot of heads nodding.
Yep.
And just one more thing to add to the whole deck piece. Just because it's in a deck doesn't mean there can't be any sort of creative, right? Like if you are a musician or if you are an artist and you actually can paint or make something, like all things on the table, I'd say, just to also bring a little bit of difference to the final product of this for you all, right? Like we want to be able to help flex your creativity and let you guys be fully in your lane. So if you think of a way to deliver a message in a 3-second audio tag, or you have a painting that you can think up in 30 minutes and says, hey, like this is what I see. I might not be able to understand it right away, but if you have some way of telling a story about it that can, help us understand, like make sure you just lean into whatever ways that you are the most you. And obviously with the requirements of being in a deck, just think about, okay, could I put a YouTube video on here? Could I put an audio clip? Could I put a painting, right? So just some other things to think about when you're thinking about the final output.
Yeah, and if you guys come back with 30-second audio clip on all this research, I'm quitting my job and working for you. Okay, cool. So everyone's clear on next steps. Again, guys, happy to help. Introduce yourselves first. Get to know your teammates. Get started. And then I would say reach out, schedule this office hours. I don't care if it's this week, next week, whatever. And when you have something that you feel is substantial, whatever that means to you, I would love to step in. Trav would love to step in and kind of see where you're at and guide your thinking for next Thursday. I don't even care if that meeting has to take place at midnight on a Tuesday. I will make it work, or one of us will make it work. I am so excited to see your research. This is probably my favorite phase of every project. I just love doing research. I love learning. So hopefully this is exciting for you guys. And I think, George, that you over there, George, hopefully this turns into a project where, again, you can go pitch Lululemon after this, and this will be your 106th win.
156.
Oh, I'm sorry. 50.
It was like 56. Sorry. Demo.
I'm counting them. I'm counting them.
Okay.
Rightfully so. Rightfully so.
Okay.
What group is George in?
What?
She out here trying to switch groups.
I want to know my competition.
All right, guys. Well, with that said, it is 9:01 Eastern time, so that means it's a wrap for our very first class. Thank you again for coming. I'm so excited to start to meet you guys. I look forward to working with you all, and let's go kick some ass.
Awesome.
Let's do it.
Hi, everybody.
There.
Nice meeting you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Nice meeting you too. Likewise.
Paola, ¿cómo vamos a la otra sala?